Echo? All right, we'll shut her off. Let me know when you're in. There we go. All right, we'll close. All right. Perfect. All right. Give a few minutes here to let everyone jump in. I'm rocking the hat now because this quarantine hair is not pretty.
Right back, same thing. I thought I have to wear a hat. It's with the disclaimer that it's because our hair is probably not acceptable.
Unacceptable. It's not good. It's not pleasant. All right, let's get going here. This is the third Torres Hockey Instagram interview, Instagram live interview now. The first two with Pittsburgh Penguins development coach Tom Kostopoulos and American League Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins assistant coach Jared Scaldi went very well. Today we have another member of the Penguins staff. The first 2 weeks we neglected goalies a little bit, so we're going to take care of them here today. Our guest was actually drafted twice in 2 different years, but through a pretty unique story, I actually heard his name called 3 times. We'll get into that a little bit later. Currently the goalie development coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, worked with some notable NHL goalies, including Jordan Binnington, Tristan Jarry, and Malcolm Subban. On top of being a great goalie coach, one of the finest people you will ever meet in any walk of life. Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Chiodo.
Wow, Case. That was way too nice.
No, not at all.
Buddy, right back at you. Happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Awesome.
Thanks to follow.
Glad to have you. Okay, so again, the format is I've got a series of questions that I'll get started here, and then we'll open it up to the floor halfway through. What I found anyway is if you have questions to ask, like shoot them out right off the bat, and then I'll keep them kind of saved and just bring them up at the end, because I found last week we almost waited too long and then it was hard to get the questions out. So for people watching, anytime you have a question, shoot it whenever you want, and we'll go from there. So first question, Andy, tell us a little bit about yourself, your playing career, and your journey as a goalie.
Yeah, well, on a personal level, my wife and I have a little 18-month little boy. And as you know, Case, the last few months, he's gone through a pretty difficult life-threatening health issue that he's come through. And so that's a huge part of our life right now. Watching our little guy go through this enduring process. We won't get into details here, but the long and short of it is that things were not looking good for a while, and now he's not just at full health, he's thriving and he looks better than ever. So on a personal level, really happy with family life right now, and so inspired by the strength and resilience of our little guy Ben.
He's a battler for sure.
It's amazing to see what he went through, and like I said, just inspiring and resilient. And then professionally, currently the development coach for our club, the Pittsburgh Penguins. I also run the goaltending program for Matt Nickel in the summertime with BioSteel. And my professional career as a player ran 15 years, played in the National Hockey League, American Hockey League, East Coast, played in the Continental Hockey League in Russia, and Finland and Austria as well. So that scope of playing really has certainly impacted my work as a coach now, and the ability to connect with different players going through different aspects and experiences. And it's also shaped, process and understanding how different countries develop. So I'm happy for that experience. I think it's serving me well right now.
That's awesome. Actually, I was going to ask about your coaching journey too, but you just mentioned a really good point about you played in a lot of different countries. How does the goalie development chain differ in Canada to the US to Europe?
It's a good question. For me, the most experience I had was in Finland. I was there for 4 years. So that's probably the model that I could speak to probably most intelligently of all the different places. So in Finland, there's a big emphasis on movement, on athleticism, on the ability to read the game and use your hands. Skating's big. So you see a lot of those young Finnish goaltenders, they can move, they can skate, they can catch pucks, they can read the game. And I think when those goaltenders come over to North America, often they tailor their games and to suit the needs of, a smaller rink and just the pace and level of traffic that they have to respond to in the National Hockey League. But they've got a wonderful foundation of movement, ability to read and catch pucks. And as you go around the different countries, obviously spending time in Russia as well, everyone has a little bit of a different philosophy. And just like I said, the scope has really, helped connect to, for example, a guy in our organization, if a goaltender's coming in from Finland, you have a really good idea of where he's come from. So in answer to your question, yeah, they're all different. I think Canada has done a really good job. I think Canada's connected with Finland as well, and connected with them and to understand what they're doing, and these countries all work together. Sweden's another great goaltending country.
Do you find Canada has made adjustments or improvements in the last couple of years to try to because for a long time Canada was probably a goalie mecca, so to speak. I feel like there's been a bit of a dip here recently, and a country like Finland with not a huge population has become a goalie factory. So do you find that we're making adjustments and heading in the right direction?
Yeah, I think some good adjustments have been made in the last few years. I think, there's a good goaltending culture here led, and I know Lyle Mass was a big part of Hockey Canada, and there's some really good people in place that are driving our goaltenders in the right direction. For sure, Finland is a small country, and they've been able to win medals in all these tournaments with, significantly less population than we have here in North America and Canada specifically. It took a little bit of a dip maybe, but at the same time, I think we're still doing a pretty good job.
Awesome. So, no real secret, goalies develop, different rates than players, maybe a little bit longer sometimes. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges goalies face when, every step they increase in their hockey journey?
The ability to stop the puck.
Comes a lot faster.
It really is that simple. The ability to stop the puck, the ability to respond to pace, the ability to tailor your game, to read plays and be efficient in your movement, be efficient in how you track the release. These are things that goaltenders have to contend with as they get to higher levels. And of course, like I talked about before, traffic is such a huge component in the National Hockey League, American Hockey League. As you go through the levels, guys are bigger, stronger. There's a lot of traffic in front. You have to contend with that. But the biggest thing is just the ability to stop the puck. And that's something that as you progress, you figure out what you need to do and how you have to tailor your game. It's like a big sloppy suit, tailoring that suit. You can't be sloppy and play in the National Hockey League. So I think that's a big one.
Your buddy Carlo Koliakovo here just says you can tell you're a coach when we've got a whiteboard in the background here.
Thanks, buddy.
I
appreciate you chiming in, Coco.
Yeah. The one thing I find, especially having scouted the OHL here heavily the last couple of years, is even goalies like high profile, high picks, first, second round picks. Like it's a big adjustment going up to kind of catch up to the speed of the shot. Is it just something that with experience and starting to see those shots, for a couple of months that you just kind of feel like it's back to normal?
Yeah. So I think to a degree, I think fundamentally you have to be looking at pucks the right way. You have to understand the foundation behind tracking and understanding how to move efficiently. And when you have a good foundation in place, you can respond to that speed. You can respond to the way that puck is coming off the stick. If you don't have that quality foundation in place, you're going to be lagging behind all the time. You're going to be chasing it, and you might not get to the speed, and you might not get to where you need to be. So I think your foundation is so important. And if you have a good foundation in place and your mechanics are good, then it's a matter of time. Then it's a matter of just getting those reps in, feeling practice, getting game experience. And that's where your reads are going to improve. You're going to see patterns develop, and really you're going to be able to, be on that puck, greater percentage of the time.
How critical do you think, especially in that early, say, first year or first development year in maybe junior or heading into school, is like having a goalie coach there every day? Is that something, is it good to have every day, or would it be better to give some time to think, or do you need help finding your ways?
Would you say case in the OHL or
I mean, I guess
year
the
two
OHL,
or?
most of the people tuning in here are probably heavily geared towards the OHL. So I'll use that as a 16-year-old goalie recently drafted, going in, signing with an OHL team. You know, the shots are going to be faster, harder. Is it critical, in that first year for full true development to have someone you can lean on all the time?
I think it has to be the right guy. I think that's
Yeah,
important.
good
I
point.
think it's important to do your research and talk to people and just try to get connected to people that, given your instincts and research, you feel like have a track record of development and a process that you can lean on and trust. Because sometimes you're better off not having a coach than having a guy who could be leading you, even if all intentions are positive and good, leading you in the wrong direction. Because then you're taking away from your natural instincts and your natural ability to just figure the game out yourself. And I think there's a lot to be said about guys who can figure the game out themselves, who can read plays, who can feel the game, who can track the puck at first using their instincts. And then there's going to be a period of time where you run in and you get to work with great people and they'll just cement those things. If you can find that coach early on, then I think it's great. I don't think you need them every single day because you need to learn to problem solve yourself. You have to experience failure. You have to experience setbacks. And if your inclination is to reach for somebody all the time, you're not developing those skills that you're going to need later when the going really gets tough. So I think, do your research. Try to find a coach that has a proven track record, that has done some good work, and you feel like you can trust. If you don't have access to that, that's okay. Then you have to learn to distill information. And if it's making your game easier, if what the coach is telling you makes it easier to stop a puck, then you're on the right path with him. And one of the things that goaltenders have to understand is that they're going to run into different coaches their whole entire career, even at the NHL, American League level. And it's going to be their challenge to use what they connect to and what works and be able to push aside other things that don't. So in answer to your question, I don't think you need a guy every day. You need to struggle a little bit and figure it out on your own. And when you do look for a goalie coach, make sure you've done your research.
Pretty good. Just to kind of build on that, I do have a question here coming in from Nolan Lalonde, a Kingston guy here, was drafted in the the third round to Erie in the OHL. He was the second goalie taken. Wants to know how important video is, or how much video is used at the next level.
It's great. Great question. And congratulations, by the way. So that's got to be a relationship feel thing. Some guys respond very well to video. Some guys watch video and they thrive and they're able to make those adjustments and move forward in a positive way. Sometimes the video causes them to overthink, or sometimes video might lead them down a path that takes their instincts and feel away. So you have to know yourself. You have to know, is video on game day something that you respond well to? Is it the day before a game? Is it once a week? Is it every morning? Is it once every 2 weeks? This is where self-awareness and your relationship with your coach comes into play. So in answer to that question, we build that. And we get a feel for what the goaltender needs and what the goaltender wants. And I also observe what the goaltender, how he performs, because sometimes the goaltender will want it. He'll want so much video, but I know as a coach that I got to back him off a little bit. So I think you also have to identify, do you want to watch video that prepares you for competition? Or do you want to watch video that's more looking at your technical aspects of your game and tactical aspects? So I think the answer to that question, it's a moving dance. Every goaltender is different, but one thing's generally for sure, we're doing game reviews and game preparation. And I think in season, it's less technical. And in the summer, you have a time to dive into your technical game, perhaps a little bit more.
Just to build on that question myself here, like let's say, video is something. How long would that video session be? And what sort of things would you really try to hammer home?
3 minutes or less. I don't believe in too much more than that. It's my job as the coach to find meaningful clips distill them and present them in a way that happens pretty quick and it's impactful. So I like to sandwich my clips between positive clips. So you see yourself performing at a high level, doing things with fluidity, really solid. And then I like to throw in the middle clips where you're not doing things so well, or an example of maybe what, isn't as efficient and effective. And then we finish the sandwich with positive clips of you doing it well. So really well, teachables, and then finish strong with some clips that reiterate what it looks like when you're thriving. And I try to keep it 3 minutes or less.
That's awesome. Awesome. So when we had TK here a couple of weeks ago, some really good feedback was just on his ability to overcome adversity throughout his hockey career. And things didn't just come easy to TK. He had to battle and persevere through people telling him no when we don't want you. You've had an opportunity to work with a guy who's now become a star in Jordan Binnington. He couldn't even make his American League team the year before he won the Stanley Cup. So can you tell us a little bit about his ability and his story about having to overcome adversity to be one of the top goalies in the league? And is this something that, knowing him the way you do, did you see this coming, or is it a surprise to everybody?
Well, I would probably identify our coaching relationship as good as it gets in terms of this collaborative, coactive approach to what we wanted to accomplish. And I would imagine as a coach, what we want is the athlete to be as open and forthcoming and relentless and committed as Binner has been. And our relationship was built in a really authentic, organic way, where I was going into my last season as a player, and Binner had joined Matt Nichols' gym in Toronto. And one of the aspects of my game that were operating at such a high level at that time were my preparation, my experience, my habits, the foundation of my game, my routines. And Binner at the time was an incredibly talented, high level guy that didn't have those foundations set in place yet. And there were 2 or 3 things on the ice that were going to change and impact his game in a way that could have him take off. So that summer we interacted, but not every day. He was still doing his thing, I was doing mine, but we were building this connection and trust with each other because I saw things in him that I completely admired and thought sky was the limit. And he saw things in my game that he liked as well. So that year, he didn't really have a great year in Chicago. It was okay. And we talked every couple months. But then that following summer, we had a real connection and this intuition where he kind of looked at me, I looked at him, and we were like, are we going to do this? Let's do this. And it was really powerful. And that was my last year playing. I went out, I saw a wonderful goalie coach named Steve Valaket, who made such an impact on me from a coaching standpoint. And Binner had, put Subban in touch with us. So the 3 of us kind of got to work that summer. It was my first year out of playing. I was full of so much energy. We had a great game plan. We made some great adjustments on the ice, and then we got to work, building habits, building routines, building the work ethic, structuring everything. And just, we just felt this energy of belief. And that's where it started. So for us, the year that St. Louis sent him to the coast, he was coming off an incredible summer. And we knew that. We knew where he was going. He knew where he was going. And that's where Subban, ironically, was put on waivers by Boston for Khudobin, picked up by the Golden Knights, and then Binner took Subi's spot in Providence on loan. It was a really incredible series of events. And Bob Essens, the goalie coach, had come to Toronto that summer, and he saw Binner in the summer, and there was like this little 6 degrees of separation going on, and it worked amazingly well. So Subi goes off, and he plays that year in the NHL. Binner goes off and has an all-star year in the minors, and then the energy was just really flowing. And the credit that Binner deserves for his belief in himself, how bold he was in his belief in himself and willing to share that, and then to back it up on the ice. the way he got into deep practice all the time. His focus level in practice was like games. We had a great program that we were implementing, and he just pushed. He knew what he wanted, and sky's the limit. He raised his bar, raised the standard of performance, and he overcame that adversity, which was almost, 200-ish games in the minors, and 4 or 5 years at that time. So it's a really special story, really special relationship. I think he's just getting started. Sky's the limit. And that was adversity that I always say, if you're going to play for 10, 15 years, or you're going to play, you're going to get screwed. That's the truth. Yeah. Everyone gets screwed short term. No one's ever been screwed out of a whole career, though. So the question is, what are you doing while you're getting screwed? If you're getting screwed for 3 months, are you performing at a high level during those 3 months? Because it's not okay to be getting screwed or not a lot of ice time and not playing well. So if you're a player and your reduced limit, your time is down to like 10 or 8 minutes in a game, but you're not making those the best 7 to 10 minutes of your life, and the goaltender you're playing once a week, and that's not the best game you can play once a week, then you're not thriving while you're, quote unquote, what a lot of guys would call getting screwed. And what Binner did that year, he played Sunday games for the first almost half of the season. He played 1 game a week, and that game was great. So we actually rearranged his week so that Wednesday was the day 1 of his week, so that by the time Sunday came, he wasn't overly fatigued. So he started like technically a day off, ramped up because he knew he was playing every Sunday. And then that turned into 2 games, to 3 games, to All-Star game, and he just started building momentum. It was really, really powerful.
Yeah, I think that's incredible advice all around, goalies, players, because you're right. Everybody thinks at some point they're getting screwed over, but if you're not holding up your end of the bar, how are you going to get more out of it? I think that's great advice. Question here from Zach Springer, who was a scout with the Kingston Frontenacs, a goalie that used to play for me back many moons ago as well, too, wants to know how important you feel having the goalie coach or the goalie scout involved in scouting and drafting and having kind of building the scouting list from a goalie point. I'm pretty sure I know what your answer is going to be, but
it's monumental. It's absolutely important. The goaltending coach has to have a significant role in that process, and furthermore, fantastic relationships and understanding with the scouts. And I mean, in case you and I, as in our working relationship, it works because we're able to communicate. We have a pretty good understanding of what we're looking for in the goaltenders, and there's trust, and you guys are doing a ton of work in the field, and then I will come in and work through that process myself. But I don't think it could be done without the goaltending consultant, coach, or development coach, whatever I don't believe in titles, whatever your title is, having a significant role. And I think the staff has to trust you. You have to earn their trust. Trust isn't given. So I think that comes from preparation, hard work, not just asking people opinions on goaltenders. It's getting out there, seeing them, watching countless of hours of video, doing your due diligence, making sure you know these goaltenders inside and out. And when you do that, I think your staff will respond well. I think that builds the relationship, and you'll have more of an impact on decisions that are being made at the draft. So short answer, very important.
I wholeheartedly agree with you in every way, shape, or form. And you're right. I love the talks we have about goalies in the OHL specifically. So I always like to try and pull in a Mike Sullivan question. I know we're both biased here, but hey, we are. And I think he's a fantastic coach. And I remember it was 2 years ago, we were in Pittsburgh, and we kind of just sat around and listened to Sully talk for about 40 minutes. It felt like 5. And I think the two of us could have stayed there for hours. As a coach and being around, camp and practices, what have you learned from him, and how does he kind of approach the goalies and the goalie situation in Pittsburgh?
Well, we've been really fortunate with the coaching staff throughout training camp to spend every day in their meetings. And I can give you an overview, first of all, on, the impact he's made and what I've observed. And first and foremost, what I've observed is just a relentless, I'd say it 4 times over, relentless worker, relentless accountability to himself, relentlessly competitive, prepared,
Highly,
empowers his staff. Like the preparation is on another level.
highly intelligent. Highly intelligent.
Highly intelligent. And there's just a great ability to connect with his staff and players. And he's tough. All those things are fluid learning experiences when you're interacting on a daily basis and watching how he runs practice, how he empowers his coaches, how he communicates with his coaches, how he just the presence that he's able to bring to the ice and to the players on a daily basis. The work he did with Pittsburgh this year with all the injuries that took place was incredible. And that's, really, that's impressive throughout the whole organization, the culture, management, coaches. So I'm learning that every day. Every day you're with him, you learn another standard, another level of performance, preparation, communication. As far as the goaltenders, I think he's challenging. He expects a lot out of his goaltenders. He has a high standard for how he wants them to perform, and he's very supportive of them as well and very honest. And I think also if you're performing well, you're going to get an opportunity to play for him.
Awesome. I know we got a lot of players here as well tuning in. So I got a question here. As a goalie coach, with regards to maybe the players that you have as shooters or shooting in your goalie practices, what separates a good shooter from maybe one who frustrates you and one you wouldn't want to have back?
Yeah, it's a great question. The ability to execute, to be sharp. This is a big one. The guys who get absorbed in goalie practice as players and want to know what the coach is teaching the goaltenders, and they want to understand what the goaltender is working on, what he's exposing, what he's trying, or for lack of better terms, what he's trying to, achieve in each drill. The guys who want to understand that and exploit it are great to have at goalie practice. The guys who can work through low percentage scoring drills and still want to find that hole, even though it might be 80% of the goaltender is going to make the save. Those are the guys you want. So they're competitive, they're focused, they're sharp, they're executing well, they're listening. And when the energy drops a little bit for them in terms of maybe they're not in a high percentage scoring situation, it doesn't change. And they just continue to work. And, but the interest level and what the goalies are learning, those guys just seem to really thrive during the season. They score a lot of goals because they know when we're making mistakes, they can see it because they're interested. And those guys you want, those guys those guys during practice case, you're like, guys, I'm sorry, this one's for the goal. They're like, it doesn't matter. We're fine. Like they say to me, if I can score 2 more goals this year from this spot, I'm happy that I came out.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. What sort of skills, going back to the goalies, what sort of skills do you feel are the most transferable or the most important to focus on?
You have to be able to see the puck. You have to understand how to track the puck. You have to understand positioning. You have to be able to move, read the release. But the ability to see the puck, to understand how to track is very, very important. And when you're playing your best, you're seeing the puck. I think any goaltender on here right now would admit, or not admit, but would agree that when they're at their best, they can see the puck. They're seeing the puck well. And when you're not, you're not. And the ability to do that as the levels, as the game gets faster, is tougher, and that's why your foundation has to be strong. So you got to be able to see and understand how to track pucks. You have to be able to move, and that goes hand in hand. And comes with that, you have to be able to read the play. So these things, your positioning, your tracking, lead to the ability to stop the puck and read plays, and that's important. You need to be doing that, and you need to be getting better and more efficient at it every year. The only way to get faster is to move less.
Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate to people that are maybe coming in now, or any questions that you might have, feel free to shoot them out. We'll get them off to Andy here. I've got a few others that I'll throw in while we wait for some questions to come in. You mentioned to me, maybe it was last year, or the year before, about net presence. Talk a little bit about net presence for a goalie.
Well, if you get down on ice level and you have a look at a guy, you've got an instinct right away. Does this guy look like a guy who's going to stop the puck? Is he well put together? Does he have a commanding confidence and swagger about him? And it's something you can feel, and it's not easy to quantify. But when a guy has a good net presence, he's over the puck, he looks big, even if he's not 6'4", 6'5". There's a commanding confidence that he has about him, and it's something that you can feel. It's something you observe. And there's always a moment in a game, I'm sure players can attest to this. There's a turnover in the neutral zone. Boom, breakaway going back against your goaltender. There's a quick instinct. You think that your goaltender is going to stop that puck, or do you think it's going to go in? We all have that. You could be watching a game and a breakaway comes and you're like, save, you just know. And sometimes you're like, goal, you just know. And when, a goaltender's presence in the net is the way he presents himself, the way how he's put together, his X factor. Some goalies have it and some goalies don't.
But just to build on that question, could be same thing as, a guy gets taken down. Would you rather have the penalty shot or the power, the kill the penalty or take the penalty shot? If you've got that goalie in that, it's like, we'll just take the penalty shot and we'll go back to 5-on-5.
I'd take neither, but yes, exactly. Yeah. I agree.
Good question here. What excites you when you see a goalie when you're out scouting? And while scouting, what are you evaluating in a goalie?
I love to see athleticism, a guy who competes, who's never, even if he's out of the play, you can see there's a willingness to make that save and maybe get out of his structure or technique. A guy who can move, because I always say if a guy's athletic, a guy can move and a guy competes, that's something that you can work with. You can always, I call it, you can tame a horse or whip a mule. I'd rather tame a horse any day of the week. So it's less about how put together the guy is, depending on what level you're scouting. And it's certainly important to see a guy who can move, who can read plays, who has athleticism. I'd like to see a guy who can track the puck, but that's something you can work on. So I would say compete, athleticism, the ability to move and read plays. And how do you see that? If a guy's just there, you don't really see him move and you don't see him do X, Y, and Z to get in position for the release. He just always seems to be there. And that's a great way to identify if a guy could read the play or not.
Yeah. Just to follow up on that question, you talked to us, and it was this year or the year before, about, compete for a goalie, because you hear compete a lot. And I think most people would assume, scrambling, second effort, third effort, but you threw a lot more into the compete definition that I thought was really good. Like what are some other elements of compete? Like I know you talked about being able to respond after giving up a bad goal as a sign of compete or competing. Like, what other definitions to that would you include?
It's a tough one, because sometimes competing could be confused with a guy who isn't well put together. And if his game was more efficient, he wouldn't be out of position so often. And so, of course, isn't everyone competing? It's a word that maybe one day we don't even really use it for scouting per se, but you can see where compete shows up. It's 4-0 in a game, 5-0 in a game. It's seemingly over. You're faced with a penalty kill. Is that goaltender as engaged during that penalty kill at 5-0 as he was when it was 2-0? Is that goaltender there for you in a 2-0 game to make that extra save to prevent it from being down 3-0? Is there a willingness to fight through traffic? That's a great way to identify compete. When you lose sight of the puck for a moment, or there's a big body in front of you, are you making that extra effort to find the puck and try to get a sight line to see the release? These are areas where compete shows up. But where we really see compete is in practice. And that's where the goaltender's desire to want to win everything he does, whether you're playing rebound game at the end of practice or you're playing, 5-puck breakaway drill or anything, is that willingness to compete and compete for second and third pucks. And you can feel that. You can't hide. If you're not being competitive, it's clear. And I think that's an important thing for players to understand as you go through the ranks, how competitive people are. And the higher you go, that guy beside you, you have no idea how badly he wants to beat you. And the higher level you go, you realize, actually, you might not even realize. Some people might never understand how much that guy wants to beat you. And after a team loses, how badly they want to beat you the next time. And a goaltender loses, how badly he wants to win that next game. And I'm going to give you a quick example. Nobody wants to hear about what we're doing right now for workouts, but we got that Peloton bike. We got a bunch of guys riding together. A couple guys on our ride, Stanley Cup winners, 1,200 games in the NHL. And week one, we're all kind of, there. One guy in our group, really experienced guy, challenged us and was like, you guys should be getting better scores. That's the truth. Like, you guys should be riding harder. So, of course, I hear that. I go back. I start doing a routine. I'm like, he just, he called us out on this, right? So we come back and my score increases significantly, but so does everybody else's. Anyway, week 1, 2, 3, we ride twice a week. We find out now guys are recalibrating their bikes. Guys are starting to do these are older men. And these rides have gotten so competitive and guys are starting to prepare for them like it's game day 2 times a week. And these guys are so far from playing. But the commonality, former NHLers, longtime pros, Stanley Cup winners, whether you're competing for the bike ride or you're outside playing, if anyone's watching the Michael Jordan documentary.
I was just about to bring it up there. He's gambling on throwing quarters. He's throwing quarters against the wall.
Yes, this is compete. So how do you measure it? You just see it.
Yeah. I think I've watched every episode at least 3 times already. It's fantastic. It's almost a documentary about competing. Building off the compete factor a little bit here, with a goalie obviously requires a lot of mental toughness. Being able to have to quickly reset or refocus. Do you have any regroup tactics, maybe for a goalie to bounce back after a bad goal, or any goal, I guess, really? I mean, we've all seen Braden Holtby with the water bottle where he squirts the water up and he watches it. And I see a lot of young goalies using that tendency or tactic, whatever you want to call it. Like, are there things that you try to talk about, or any other suggestions you might have?
Get your eyes going, see the puck. Find the puck. Back to simple. You're struggling. On nights you're struggling, you're not seeing the puck. So I think first and foremost, center yourself, get a hold of that puck.
So you're basically get rid of all the gimmicks and just get back to basics.
Yeah, get back to basics, see the puck, start to track the puck, get on the puck. And the mentality, next puck, next shot.
Yeah.
And you find sometimes goaltenders, they go out, they might have a terrible first period, let in 3 goals. Their arousal level was probably too high. Maybe they were overthinking. Maybe the game, they were over anxious. They were over prepared or not prepared properly. Then they go to the intermission and they settle. They kind of have nothing to lose. And then in the second period, they're lights out. And what's happening there is everything just simplified. You've kind of let go of your expectation. You're back to just focus on getting in position, stop the puck. Get in position, stop the puck. And I think when we're not on it is just because our minds get clouded. We overthink and we're not able to just simplify and not think. So first and foremost, see the puck again. Boom, get back on the puck. Next shot, get in position, stop the puck.
Does it ever go the opposite way? So going back to Jordan Binnington here in Game 7, first period, he has as good a period as you could ever have. Like, maybe won the Stanley Cup in that period. Is there any fear of letdown, or is just the confidence level at that point through the roof?
Say it. I just had to say it again.
Okay. You were talking about, see the puck moving on to the next goal, or having a bad period coming out with nothing to lose. What about going the other way, where Jordan Binnington in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final against Boston has about as incredible a first period as you could possibly have? Is there ever a fear of maybe letdown or overconfidence at that point, or is just the confidence is just too high at that point?
It's a great question. I say commit to 60 minutes plus overtime and shootout if it's regular season. So you're committed from puck drop to buzzer. The puck doesn't have a memory. The puck doesn't know where it is. The puck doesn't know if it's game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals or if it's an exhibition game. So your ability to focus on your task, which is stopping the puck, doesn't change regardless of the situation. The environment certainly changes. The energy changes. The pressure changes. But in a situation like that with Binner, his focus is solely on his job, on his task. And all of the other distractions are not there. And conversely, in game 6, when they have a chance to win it and the energy is different around it and maybe they get ahead of themselves a little bit, there's thousands of people outside. It's more challenging to be in the present and focus on your task. So goaltenders should commit to 60 minutes plus overtime, do their job, whether it's 2-0 up, whether they're down 2-0, your job doesn't change in the next sequence.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Did he not get pulled in game 6 or did he just?
No, he didn't get pulled. Rask was outstanding.
There was one game, I think game 5, where he struggled and he gave up a lot and was able to
bounce. Yeah, not in game 6.
Yeah, okay.
No, I went to game 6.
You were there. Another follow-up question here. Any recommendations for pregame preparation?
Yep. A little bit of trial and error. Start really simple and maybe write down what you did that you liked. If you played a great game and you felt good during that game, you're trying to be sharp mentally, be ready to go physically, and those things are hand in hand. You want to get your eyes going. My pregame routine, I'd get there 2 hours before the game when I played. I have to remember it right now. I did it for 15, 20 years. I'd get there 2 hours before the game. I'd have a coffee, just chat a little bit with my teammates, but, just relax, see the guys. Then I'd sit down, I'd tape my sticks, I'd pour my BioSteels, I'd have everything ready that I would need during the game. So I'd have, 3 BioSteels beside my seat, tape my sticks, sit around again, just relax. For me, I had to usually settle before the game. So it's important to know who and what you are. Are you a guy that needs to be built up, or are you get revved up, or are you a guy that needs to calm down? And then I had a 15 to 18 minute activation mobility routine to get myself going. I'd go out to the rink, I'd visualize for about 5 minutes, and I'd get dressed. And it was really simple. It got me settled. It was calming, and hit warm up, and then boom, hit the game running.
So building off that a little bit is, and I guess the stigma around goalies would be a superstitious breed. Is there any fear of having too much superstitions and feeling like, okay, if something goes off in my superstitious routine, that it's going to impact my ability to play well because now I didn't eat the right breakfast or whatever that particular superstition is, where it really doesn't impact or matter, but in your mind you can, any fear of that?
Well, we're only as good as our habits and routines, but those get broken all the time. So you better be ready to improvise. And that's the biggest thing. I think that we want to rely on our routines as much as possible. I think my superstition became not being superstitious because so many superstitions are unrelated to actual performance. And so if I have to leave my house and touch the rock on my front lawn to play well, chances are I'm not always going to get to touch that rock. That rock isn't going to be there on the road. and that routine is going to get thrown off. What superstitions do is they usually connect us to feeling good. They connect us to being able to go through your X, Y, and Z pattern and be ready to play. And I think that is, you just have to be really careful that you don't have routines that hinder your performance. Because if you're going to play in the National Hockey League, road trips, even though everything is laid out for you so well, there's still unpredictable moments. If you're going to play in the minors, you're on the bus till 3 a.m. Junior, same thing, depending where you are. You might arrive late to a game. and now you only have 18 minutes to prepare or half an hour.
Yeah.
That stuff happens. Everyone's gone through it. So I would stay away from having superstitions that are so challenging to meet on a regular basis. So I would be dialed into my routines and habits, into my structure. But when they don't go according to plan, you have to be able to play. You have to be able to feel good about yourself.
You mentioned you visualize before the game. What sort of things would you visualize to help you get ready for the game?
Visualize the puck. Visualize the puck coming at me. Visualize different situations in the game. I might visualize a breakaway. I might visualize rush entry. I might visualize a 2-on-1. Visualize some puck play, some touches. But ultimately, I visualize myself in position over the puck and just seeing that puck come off the player's stick and into my body. And I visualize myself doing great things. Visualize myself winning that hockey game.
What's the here's a question for Sebastian Reeser. I think he's done some work with you as well, drafted in the UHL U18 draft. The question is, what's the importance of understanding specific players and maybe their tendencies as a player?
Some guys love it. Some guys want nothing to do with it. We have our guy, I'll use a contrast of two goalies in our system this year. One guy did not want to hear in a PK meeting who was lining up for that one-timer. And the other guy wanted to know exactly who it was. One guy wanted to know what the player's tendency is in a shootout. The other one just wanted to read and react. This is why the model for goaltending is self-awareness. There's a foundation in place when you talk technical, tactical, of course, and I have strong beliefs, although I'm very open, but I have strong beliefs on what I believe are important things on the ice. But as far as our approach, as far as managing our games, managing video, managing our bodies and minds, you have to become aware, self-aware of who and what you are and what you need to be successful. So that answer to that question is it's different for everyone, depending on if you want to be told, who specifically is lining up for that one-timer, where they are on the ice, statistics of the other team, you might thrive on that. So you're going to ask your coach to have all of that prepared for you. If you're a guy that just wants to know where the one-timer is coming from, but you don't care who it is, then you have to tell your coach that too and work within that structure.
Any advice for a goalie coach trying to take the next step in his coaching journey or his,
Yeah. Become a master of your craft. Unrelenting commitment and desire to get better at your craft. Learn, be open, make phone calls, talk to different people, have no ego, be willing to learn. It's not bad to let people know what you want, provide value. I always talk about, there's a great book called The Go-Giver. And this book talks about always providing more value than you receive in compensation. And we always talk about be a go-getter, like go get it, I think you should be a go-giver. And that means provide value, provide service, provide expertise, provide knowledge. If someone asks you for a scouting report on a guy, give them the best scouting report that they've ever seen. If someone wants to work with you on the ice, give them the best experience that they've ever had. I think if you are giving constantly and providing value and service, you're learning, first of all, you're mastering your craft, and you're providing value. I think people always say it's all about who you know. I disagree. I think it's all about who trusts you. And the best way to have people trust you at a higher level is to do your work so that you can make an impact on them and help them win and help them develop. So the best way is to build your knowledge, build your toolbox, and provide value anywhere you can.
Awesome. With the world being shut down right now, any advice or tips for how to maybe prepare for next season when we don't necessarily know what next season is going to look like and there's no ice to go on right now? Like, are there any tips or anything you can do to try to semi-prepare for next hockey season, whenever that might be?
Yeah, right now we could build as human beings. So you can write your name at the center of a page, and you can write lines out to different aspects of your life: health, family, friends, growth, development, you name it, career, money, whatever, and give yourself a ranking out of 10. Figure out where you are. There's going to be some areas that you're not proficient, that you're maybe a 4, maybe a 5. Use this time to drive those up if you can. Then look at your game. Rank your movement, rank your equipment, rank your positioning, rank your tracking, rank your traffic management, your reads. You're going to see there's 2 or 3 things where I'm not really confident in. I don't like the way I'm tracking pucks. I don't like the way I'm fighting through traffic. So now you have an opportunity to grow in your life and an opportunity to grow on the ice. Then what are the tools you can use? Then you can find a goalie coach. Then you can use video. Then you can try to better yourself. If, for example, physical health and wellness is something where you're not at a high level, you can start working out in a different way every day. There's things you could do during this time. There's a before, a during, and an after to this time period. And we need to use this time to grow. And I think when we grow as individuals, our game usually takes a step. If we're operating mentally, physically, emotionally, we're, doing the right research, talking to the right people, reading the right books, having the right routine every single day, you're going to grow as a human being. And naturally, you'll be better when you step on the ice. What can you do for video? Again, you can link up with a coach, or you could do your own work and look at different situations on the ice. Look how guys play 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s. Look how guys kill penalties. Look how guys take breakaways. You can use this time to get stronger. You can use this time to build your tactics and technique on the ice. And when it's time to play, you're going to be so excited about going on the ice. You're going to be rocky at first, but your game will come back to you. People play after lockout seasons. Guys play after being hurt for 4 months, and they come back strong. If you're using this time and you're thriving during this time, and let's say this first, right now, huge gratitude for our frontline workers.
Absolutely.
Big empathy for families that have experienced sickness, tragedy, for the economical impacts. All of that comes first. So let's say you're healthy and you're at home right now and you're not dealing, with something like that. Okay. That's so important. Otherwise, forget it all. So if you are in that situation, then you have to be growing and developing and learning and finding a way to thrive during this time, because hockey will come back. And the guys during this time who didn't build good routines, who didn't grow and develop, they'll be behind. And the other guys are, and here's the other thing, Case.
Yep.
Get what you need during this time. Some guys might need rest. Some guys might need to get away from the game. Some guys might want to take another course. Some guys might want to, you have to look inside and say, what do I need? And each month, how can I get better? And hockey will come back like that.
Awesome. Funny question here. It's from a goalie coach here in the Kingston area, who obviously Mike Smith is a very well experienced goalie from the Kingston area. Wants to know who would win a fight between yourself and Mike Smith.
Whoa! He's jacked. Smitty's jacked.
He's got a way bigger reach advantage than you.
Yeah, he's got a bigger reach advantage. Is this so? Back in the day, I had some goalie fights.
Oh yeah, okay.
The late great Ray Emery, my wonderful great friend. We fought in junior in Sault Ste. Marie.
You'd be giving up some experience in that fight too, no?
I gave up a lot. Our fight story was pretty funny. We're at St. Mike's. We were in the OHL, and at that time, Razor's fighting everybody. He's a goalie, but he's fighting players.
Heavyweight.
It was nuts. Heavyweights. It was nuts, and he was so good. So competitive. Talk about competitive. So competitive. So game ends. He jumps into the scrum in the corner. And I'm like, oh, man. They're outnumbered on the far end. We're playing against each other. I skate down. The ref kind of holds me back. And I was kind of okay with it. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going in. I partially didn't want to. Then we go up to Sault Ste. Marie 2 weeks later. And he's in warm-ups, just giving it to me, telling me you can't hide behind the refs this time. I'm coming for you tonight. Just in warm-ups, giving it to me at the red line at center ice. So I'm thinking, I have to fight tonight. Like, it's going to be my first fight. I was strong. I was like, I was like, I can do this. Let's do this. He's not even starting. So the other guy's playing. So second period comes, we're up 5-0, and they put Razor in. And I'm like, it's happening.
Not good.
So in between periods, my good buddy and teammate at the time, Adam DeLue, I said, Dewey, I'm going. He's like, Chico, just throw. Just throw. Just don't think about anything. Just throw. Anyway, game ends. It's 5-0. No scrum. We just skate right to center ice. We square off, and we went toe-to-toe, and it was great. And we finished on our feet. And then we fought again in the American League. And we
I'm changing my pick to you. I'm changing my pick to you in a fight then, because if you can hang in there with Razor, you'd be a tough out.
I didn't say I did great, but I definitely hung in there. The compete was high.
There we go. A couple last questions here. Now, worst case scenario, I guess there's an hour limit here on Instagram Live. So if we do get cut off and have a few minutes to come, we can jump right back on. But we'll try to get these last two in. Any good reflex drills for a young goalie on a 4x8 sheet of synthetic ice during this COVID lockdown?
I think simple is effective. So you've got some synthetic ice at home. You got a 4x8. I think you can still move efficiently. You can take straight shots, glove, blocker, body along the ice to get stick on puck. You can still do recoveries where you can make one save, recover into another puck. Using proper tracking. I think don't underestimate the simplicity of taking straight shots coupled with some movement to different spots, and work on your tracking, work on your ability to look down on pucks and make solid contact with first saves. Of course, movement's important. And as far as reflexes, you'd be amazed that when you learn to track properly, and you just see those pucks coming into your body and your hands, you'll improve your reflexes. That's for sure.
Awesome. All right, last question here we'll throw in that says goalies are traditionally labeled as weird / different or lone wolves. What's the biggest misconception about goaltenders?
Dante.
I happen to think they're a great breed myself, but
yeah, of course you do. Of course we do.
We're a little bit biased.
What a question. I love it. Biggest misconception about goaltenders? It's a good question. It's you're right. They often are labeled weird, different, lone wolves because the position lends itself to that for sure. I think you're the last line of defense. I always say it's a different sport. We're wearing different equipment. We are moving in a small space. There's a lot of east-west. It's a power position. So it is a different sport. It's an individualized sport within a team concept. I guess the biggest misconception, it's hard to know what people really think about goaltenders, but goaltenders, I think it's important for people to realize that, they feel if you lined up 10 goaltenders in a row, no matter where they've played, they all will have experienced the same emotions and psychological challenges. Whether you're talking about Henrik Lundqvist or you're talking about a player in junior, they've all gone through that same mental rigor. And the misconception is that, I would say less misconception and more an understanding that there's a lot of commonalities in what guys deal with every single day. And it's a really challenging position. Tough question.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough one to end with. But
thanks,
that's awesome, buddy. Thanks for giving us an hour here. I hope everybody learned some things, whether it be goalies or even players, on what to, maybe how to shoot on goalies. Or we had a good question earlier about the value of the shooter for the goalie drills. So yeah, that's awesome. And stay safe. Glad the family's doing well. Hopefully we can get back working together here sooner than later, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, Case. A lot of fun. Thanks to everyone. I noticed a bunch of names, Mark and Dante, and I haven't been looking down too much. So if I missed anyone, thanks for tuning in. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. And stay tuned. We'll keep trying to come up with some more of these. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah,
Take care.
great job. You're doing a great job with this.
Awesome. Thanks. You too, buddy.
Okay, see you guys.
See ya. Bye.